Hello, good morning, everybody. Hello. Hello, can anybody respond, please? Jyoti, Balaji, Bhargav, Bhavya. Hello, Lokesh. Balaji. Nana, can anybody respond, please?
Good morning, sir.
Bhargav.
Sir.
Hello, Bhargav.
Sir, చెప్పండి సార్. గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ సార్. నెక్స్ట్ ఎక్కడ ఉన్నాయి నువ్వు?
Hello. Okay. Right.
That's it. Allah will do it. ध्यान किस पर दिया? चूड़ तक ले
Hello. Nana, can anybody respond, please? Hello?
Sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, very good, very good. Good morning, all of you. I think so. Everybody joined here. Okay, I admit all the people. Okay, good morning. Yesterday, yesterday, yesterday we are discussing a new topic that is called as a polymorphism. Okay, so just recollect the previous information. So for the polymorphism, it is necessary for the inheritance. Okay, just recollect the information because only 76 people are there. So before that, we are recollecting the previous information. First is inheritance. What is the meaning of the inheritance? Parent attributes are accessed by the child. Parent is accessed by the child. Parent attributes are accessed by the child. Okay, right. So this is the first topic. In this, for the inheritance, one and only important thing is that you should not use the final. You should not use the final. Okay, you should not use the final. Why? If you are using the final, no transformation from parent class to child class. No transformation from parent class to child class. It is not possible. So, for the inheritance, if you want to accept the attributes from the parent to child, you should use other than final. Other than final. Okay, this is called as a inheritance. Okay, inheritance, right? Next is inheritance. In the inheritance, there are three types are there. First is the single level inheritance. Second is the multi-level inheritance. Third one is the hierarchical inheritance. Hierarchical inheritance. Okay. In the single inheritance, one parent, one child. So here, the attributes of the parent is accessed by the child. Only the child. Okay. Second one, multi-level. 3 classes are declared. So, for betterment, 4 classes. 3 for parent, child, grandchild. Another for object creation, main method. So it is a better way you can clearly. So if you are combined in a single class, it is a clumsy one. It's a clumsy one, then the user can be get confused. Instead of that, if you're writing the program, that program is clear. That program should be clear, way easily understand. Okay, easy understand everybody, and you should understand easily. So whatever it may be the language, you should write the program in easy way. Okay, in a easy manner. For the easy manner, you should create for multi-level 4. Suppose for the single, you should create the 3 classes. One for parent, another for child, and another for main method. Then it is a very clear one. You can save the 3 classes. So that means in a inheritance, you can add one extra class for the clear understanding of the concept. Otherwise, a clumsy will create some problem. Suppose in the multi-level, there are 3 classes: parent, child, grandchild. So 3 classes. So one more extra for methods. Okay, for the main method. Okay, good. Next to hierarchical. Hierarchical stands for here there are one parent, there are more than 2 childs, there are more than 1 child, and one for main method. So that's why you should create the minimum 4 classes. Suppose if you are the 3 child, 1 parent, then 1 extra. Fine. But if you are doing like that, then you will not get confused. Okay. All right. So this is called as a inheritance. So I repeat, inheritance is nothing but a transformation of attribute or accessing the attributes from parent class to child class. So there is another name. Hello, is my voice is clear? So please respond.
సార్ కొంచెం రైస్ చేయండి సార్ బాగా స్లోగా వినిపిస్తుంది.
Okay. Okay, now. Okay. All right. I am writing the voice. Okay, no problem. Okay. Next is, okay, I repeat, there is another name for the parent class and child class. Parent class is called as a superclass. Okay, superclass. And the child class, the under name is the subclass. Okay, is called as a subclass. Okay, parent class and subclass. So don't confuse the parent and class and child class, or you should use the superclass and subclass. Both are same. So don't confuse. Don't confuse. Okay. All right. In the hierarchical level, one thing, both child can access the attributes from the parent. Both child access the attributes from the parent. Both the child can access the attributes from the parent. Okay. But the child to child inheritance is not possible. Child to child inheritance is not possible. So please be remembered. Okay. All right. Next is the polymorphism. It is already explained in the previous class. Polymorphism. Polymorphism stands for action is the same, but representation in different ways. Action is the same, but the representation is different ways. Okay. So already explained in the previous class. Okay. Number one, for the polymorphism, I repeat, for the polymorphism, you should maintain first thing is the inheritance. If you are not using the inheritance, polymorphism should not be taken place. Single action can represent in the different ways is called as a polymorphism. Same but different ways. Poly. Okay. Same. Okay. Morphism, different ways. Same but can be performed in different ways. Okay. This is called as a polymorphism. For the polymorphism, you should maintain, I repeat, you should maintain the inheritance property. If you want to use the inheritance property, don't use the static. Don't use the final. Okay, if you are using the final, that is only exists inside the class, but is not available to the outside the class. Okay, so please be remembered these concepts are very important. Next, what are the different markings? In the polymorphism, what are the inheritance are there? Different types of inheritance that will be implemented in the polymorphism also. So what are the different types of inheritance? Single level, multi-level, and the next one, the hierarchy. So all the polymorph. So the simply says that if you are maintaining the inheritance, then the polymorphism should be exist. If not, polymorphism cannot be exist. What is the meaning of the polymorphism? Single work. Work is the same work can perform in different ways in different classes. What are the different types of polymorphisms are there? One is called as a static polymorphism. Another is called as a dynamic polymorphism. What is the static polymorphism? Okay, what is the static? So there are two examples I want to explain the polymorphism that is called as a, one is a overwriting the method. Overwriting the method is called as a dynamic polymorphism. Second concept is the overloading. Overloading is an example of the static polymorphism. Overloading and overwriting. Don't confuse that. Okay, next. First, what is the static polymorphism? It is a overloading concept. What is the overloading concept? Suppose if you are using the maximum of the action is the maximum of number. Maximum finding the between the two numbers. That number may be the integer, or that number may be the double. So according to that, you should create. Third one, suppose one method content can perform the maximum of the two integers, and second one is finding the maximum number of three integers, three parameters. So that's why that overloading is loading. The overloading should be take place between the so one function, one method to another method. Overloading. Okay, according to the object, a method should be overloading. That is called as a overloading method. Okay, and next one here we are using the static. It is already explained in previous class. Don't confuse. If you refer, then you can easily understand. So once you are using the static stands for the object is created. The object is created at the time of the compile. At the time of the compile. And one more thing, you may create or not create a method, object. You may create or not create the object in the static method, because if you are using the static method, no, you may or may not create the object. You can directly access. I repeat, you can directly access the attributes of the method. Attributes of the method from the parent class. Okay, that is called as a overloading. For better clarification, I can show you one video, one example to you. Sorry. So here I can show you. Yeah, method of overloading. This is called as a method of overloading. So please see this. Method of overloading is called as a static polymorphism. So let us take this is the example of the polymorphism. Please see this. This is the example of the method of overloading. So let us take this is the one add function, and this is also add function. That means they're performing the same function but different attributes, different parameters, different parameters. So once you are calling that according to the parameter or according to the object, that corresponding parameter should be exist, but what is the same? Add. So performing the add, but according to the parameter, they can be executed. According to the argument, the arguments are passed through the parameters and that should be executed. This is called as a static pair. And you should be observed that here you are using the static. So that means method is the static. Here you are not creating any object. You are not creating any object. So then you are directly access the adder.add. So add is a method name and adder is a class name. So adder.add, you will get 1111. Then it is directly goes to according to the method. Then arguments are passed through parameters. Then that should be executed. So here there are two parameters. So that's why the arguments are passed through two parameters. But here three. So three now directly transferred to two. So that is a very important concept. Okay. So first concept, overloading. Second concept, you are using the static. Third concept, if you are using the static, may or may not create the object. May or may not create the object. And third one, according to the object, according to the argument, then that arguments are passed through method. So if the arguments and parameters are same, then that method should be executed. Okay, right. So let us take here the one thing. So here what happens, suppose you are using the integer, you are using the double. So but you are using the static. So no need, you may or may not create the method. You may create the object, okay, directly access. Okay, so let us take, suppose here you are adder.level, but you are creating, so there are two only there. Okay, so let us take, please be listen. Here adder.level and here there is static integer and there is a static argument. So this is called overloading. So there is some confusion. There is some confusion. Okay, so please here level is there. So let us, it can process or it can process. So there is some confusion. Okay, right. Okay, this is called as a static polymorphism. Next is the dynamic polymorphism. Dynamic polymorphism. I repeat, what is the static polymorphism? Is example of overloading, which can perform the same function in different ways. So that is called as a. So next you are using the static. If you are using a static, what is the meaning that objects are created at the time of the compile time. If you are using the static, no need to create the object. We may or may not be create the object. So please find remember all these points. Okay. Next, I want to discuss about the overriding. So this is called as a dynamic polymorphism. This is the example of overriding. Overriding is the example of polymorphism. That is called dynamic polymorphism. What is the dynamic polymorphism? Number one. First, you should use the method before, that is modified as a public. Modified as a public. So if you are using the public in the parent class or in a class, you definitely create the object. You definitely create the object. This object is created at the time of the runtime, not the compile time. That's why it is called as a dynamic polymorphism. Number one. Number two, what is the dynamic polymorphism? Suppose same function is there. Same function can be performed in different classes. Now, what happens? Overwriting the method. So there is another name, another concept is the upcasting. Upcasting means creating the object from parent, and it should be implemented on the child. Is called as the upcasting. So at the time of the run, the object calls the method from the parent. At the runtime, it can be overwriting on the child class. Overwriting on the child class. So you are expecting the result from the parent, but you are getting the result from the child. So that is called as a overwriting. This is the example of the dynamic polymorphism. Dynamic polymorphism. I repeat, dynamic polymorphism. What is the dynamic polymorphism? Number one, before the method, you should use the public. First point. Second point, you should definitely create the object in the main method. Second point. And the third point is the overwriting the method. So what is the overwriting the method? That is by using the upcasting. I repeat, by using the upcasting, a method is created, an object is created. That object call the attribute. So it refers to the parent, but that can be overwriting in the child. That can be overwriting on the child. So that's why the operations, that means the name of the method is the same in parent, child, grandchild, or whatever it may be. So method name is the same, but what happens? Overwriting. Instead of the parent, you should write on the child. If you are using the upcasting. Suppose if you're not using the upcasting, then according to that you can call. But there is no use. So I can show you an example. All right. So this is the example already discussed in the last class. Okay, just recollecting that vehicle is a parent. Vehicle is a parent. Okay. So for the inheritance, you are using the extends. So that's why extends. So what is the syntax for extends? Extend, that is the inheritance. So now one is the class, and next one byte to the child, extends to vehicle parent. So this is one. And see this is the run, and this is the run. Same function. But what is the different way? Vehicle is running, byte is running. And next one, this is called as this is a main method. This is the main method. So here main method, you are creating one object because it is a public. So this is called public. So once you are using the public, then you are creating one object. Then object name is object dot run. So run. So let us take what is upcasting. Byte is a byte 2. So byte 2 is a child, and this is a okay. This is no overwriting, no problem. So this is a calling method, no problem. So let us take here. I want to explain. Okay, overloading. It's a polymorphism. Right, the polymorphism. All right. Yeah. Okay. So let us take bike is a parent. Okay, bike is a parent and splendor is a child. So this is called upcasting. Bike B. So parent and object is created. B is equal to new in splendor. This is called upcasting method. Okay, this is called an upcasting method. So when I create a B dot run, then this accept the attribute to the parent at the time of the run. That can be overloading on the child. That can be overloading on the child. Okay, that can be overloading on the child. Then you will get the answer of running state. This is called as a overriding method. Overriding method. Okay, right. So now you are understanding clearly. Polymorphism stands for same but can perform in different ways. First point. First point. Second point. How many types of polymorphisms are there? Two types of polymorphisms are there. One is a static polymorphism. Second one is a dynamic polymorphism. Second one is a dynamic polymorphism. What is the static polymorphism? At the time of the compile, the object is created and then the method, overloading of the method should be taken place. But in the dynamic polymorphism, at the runtime, object is created and it is created from parent. That parent is overwriting the method on the child class. Child class. Okay. So to refer creating in parent and in the child class, that overwriting is called as a upcasting. So that is called as a upcasting. So upcasting is reference to parent, but implementation is a child. Reference to parent and implementing is a child. So that is called as a upcasting method. In the upcasting method, first it refers to the parent, and that method can be overwriting in the child. So according to the child, that should be executed. The same function should be executed. Okay, right. This is called as a dynamic polymorphism. Okay, good. Next, I want to discuss about the binding. This is called as a binding. This is called as a binding. I can show you one more important concept here. Binding. Binding is the okay. So let us take this is called as a binding. How the method and its body can be binding is called as a binding. How they are linked. I repeat, what is the binding? How I repeat, how the method and its body, method calling and its body is linked is called as a binding. Is called as a binding. Okay. So by observing the example, you can clearly understand the concept. What is the definition of the binding? Binding stands for how the method is bound with its body. Okay, whether it is bound with the parent or whether it is bound with the child, so that is called as a bonding. Binding between the method and its body is called as a binding. So please see this. So this is the definition. What man? Half of the time is over now, the people are repeating. So let us take connecting a method. So please see this. What is the binding? Connecting a method call to the method body is known as a binding. Okay, I repeat, connecting a method call to the method body is known as a binding. Okay, right. Next, what are the different types of bindings are there? There are two types of binding. Okay, you can realize that already this concept is explained. Okay, explained, but it is a new way I am explaining. This is called as a polymorphism. This is called as a polymorphism. So let us take what is the different types of binding. So what binding? Binding and method to body. How Now method called to body body is called as a binding. Okay, what is the binding? Let us take, there are two types of bindings are there. So one is called as a static binding and second one is called as a dynamic binding. Bhargav, what happened? Right. Static binding and dynamic binding. So please be listen, static binding and also dynamic binding. What is the static binding and what is the dynamic binding? Static stands for before method, and repeat, before method, you should use the static other than public. Simply says that other than public. The modifier is a other than public. So what is the modifier? So modifier says that public to private and static to default to final. So many modifiers are there. It is already explained in the previous class. Okay. So now, if you are using other than public, like static, private, protected. So if you are using these things, then before the method and there is a method overloading is takes place. The method overloading is takes place in the polymorphism, then that is called as a static binding. Static binding. What is the meaning of the static? Please be remembered, it is also available in the polymorphism and it is also available in the binding also. Please be remembered, static means object may or may not be created. First point. Second point, the object can create at the time of the compile. At the time of the compile. Second point. Third point, there is a overloading of the method should be takes place. Overloading of the method takes place. Okay, it is already explained the overloading of the method. So whether the integer it can be loaded, whether it is a double, it can be loaded. Overloading should be takes place. Okay, next. Next. So third one, order is also important. So if you are creating a method, only two parameters. So two arguments. Suppose if you are creating a method containing three objects, then it will clear. So if you are using the three objects is calling the two object method, it is not possible. Two argument method. So if you are calling the three argument method, cannot override on the two argument method. Two argument. This is not possible. This is not possible. Who is that? Okay, right. That is not possible. So please be see the static at the time of compiler. Second one, object may or may not be created. Object may be created at the time of the compile. Okay, and no overriding takes place. Remember, please, no overriding takes place. Okay, right. So how to understand the binding is a static binding or dynamic binding? Static binding means you can use the static, next to protected and private. If you are using the public, that is not a static. That is not a static binding. Okay, so I will show you an example. So see this is called as a static binding. So what is the modified here? So what is the class? So if we try to find out some examples or some programs, you can observe that what is a class, what is a method, what is the constructor. So how to find out the private, how to find out the public, okay, how the inheritance is. So you can observe. So I can explain the class, but you will also practice yourself. Then you can easily understand. So let us take this is called as a class. What is that? This is called as a dog. Dog is a name of the class. And let us take this is the attribute. This is called as a attribute. What is it? Attribute? Attribute is a method. Attribute is a method. Whether that method is a private or that is a static or dynamic. This is called private. If you are using the private other than public. Other than public. So that's why this is called as a static method. Okay, now this is the main method. You are creating a, of course, I already mentioned that you may or may not create the object in the static, in the static polymorphism or in the static class. So may or may not be create the object. You may directly access the attribute by using the object. So that's fine. Let us take this is called the D1 is the object creation. This is called the object creation. Here there is no polymorphism here. There is no polymorphism. Why? Because what is the polymorphism or what is inherited? You can make the two classes, at least two classes, one parent, one child. But here there is no parent, there is no child. Only one class, one parent is dead. So then dog is a one created and this is called an accessing the attribute. Accessing the attribute. What is the attribute? Eat. Eat is a method. Eat is a method. So then you can get the answer dog is eating. This is called as a dog is eating. So this is called as a classic, that is static binding. This is called as a static binding. Okay, right. This is called as a static binding. Next one, I want to explain the dynamic binding. Dynamic binding. So let us take what is the dynamic binding. So I think you can clearly observe that if you are using the public before the method as an attribute of the class. I repeat, if you are writing the public before the method, that method as an attribute, then you should create the object. Definitely, you should create the object definitely. That attribute is accessible by the object. If you are not creating the object, your attribute cannot access. Okay, good. So this is called dynamic binding. What is the dynamic binding? You should use the public. You should use the public before the method. You should use the public before the method. First point. Second point, object is created. Second point, object is created. Second point. Then the object is created at the runtime. Third point. So if you are using the polymorphism, then the parent attribute is overwriting on the child attribute. Parent attribute is overwriting on the child attribute. That attribute is a method. Okay, this is called as a dynamic binding. Of course, it is also explained in the polymorphism. Okay, dynamic stands for public. Public stands for you should create the object. Whenever object is created at the time of runtime, then at the right time of the runtime, that object is access the attributes. Second point. Third point, if you are using a polymorphism, that polymorphism is attribute is overwriting on the child, class in the upcasting. So this is the basic parameters of the dynamic binding. So please see this by observing, you can understand that. This is the dynamic binding. Okay, let us take here we are using the polymorphism. How to understand a polymorphism? What is the definition of polymorphism? Same function in different ways. So if we are using a
Excuse me, sir. We can't hear your voice.
Hello.
Sir, your voice is not audible, sir.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Is it audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Thank you. Thank you, Nana. So actually, some of the people in waiting room, so it is not right, Nana. So still, 45 minutes class is over. Okay, right. So let us take, this is called as a dynamic binding. So this is the parent and this is the child. Okay, this is the parent and this is the child. And you are creating another class. This is the main method. Main method. Here we are using the upcasting. So how to understand the upcasting? Animal is a parent. A is a object name and it is created in the child. So this is the upcasting. Reference to parent and created in the child. This is called as a upcasting. Now I am clearing the a dot eat. So eating is, so where should it? So suppose eat is a method. So eat is a method. So I want to access the attribute. Say a is a object, eat is a attribute. So which attribute I want to accept, whether it is from parent or whether it is from child. That is called as a binding. That is called as a binding. So that binding can be understood with the help of this one. So this is the very important. This is the very important. That you are clearly specifies that you are go to the parent, access the attribute. That attribute is overwriting from the child on the child. Overwriting on the child. So then it can be specified. So that object is created in the parent, okay, and that can be referenced in the parent and created in the child. But at the runtime, please be remembered, at the runtime, you are saying that a dot eat. A is object and eat is a method or attribute. So where can I go? As a parent or child? So you are specifying in the object creation. You are saying that you are directly goes to the parent, then that method is overwriting in the child. You are clearly specifying this. This is called as a overwriting. Suppose instead of the dog, you are specifying the object is created in the animal class. Then what happened? Animal is a class name, A is a object name, new in the animal. So that means you are clearly specifying, don't go for child. You should directly go for the parent. Directly go for the parent. So then it is a very important. This can specify. This is the overwriting. Suppose if you are creating the object, you are accessing the attributes of the parent, then what is the polymorphism? There is no use. You can directly use the class. But here you are using a polymorphism. Polymorphism is a dynamic polymorphism. Dynamic polymorphism stands for overwriting the method. How? By upcasting. So what is upcasting? This is called as upcasting. So reference is parent creating in the child. So you are specifying clearly, please overwrite my method from parent to child. You are directly specifies. So then writing should be taken. This can be takes place at the runtime. This can be taken place at the runtime. So that's why this is called as a dynamic binding. Dynamic binding. Okay, right. Suppose, please see this. I'm running the example. So now first you can understand what is the output. So you are saying that you are using the upcasting, reference is parent, and creation the overwriting space from parent to child. So what is the function method name? Eat. So eat is overwriting. So then you are getting dog is eating. So see this. Suppose if I am not creating dog, I can use animal. I can use animal. So then there is no overwriting, directly access. Directly access. So that's why this is called a then run. So animal is eating. There is no overwriting. Okay, there is no overwriting. So that is called as a binding is runtime. That is the dynamic binding. So at the time of the runtime, it can understand object is created according to the object, whether there is a upcasting. Yes, if upcasting, there is a overwriting. If there is no upcasting, directly goes to the parent, then that should be executed. Okay. So this is the another one. So I can show you one more example. Yes. See this. There is another name for the static binding is the early binding. Early binding. Okay. Okay. Early binding. So static binding and the other name is the early binding. Okay. So I already mentioned that. What is the static? A method. Before the method, the modifier is a static, protected, and final. Then you can use that. They can use that static. Enough. That is executed only in the particular class. So let us take. I will give an example. Yes. So now you are understanding what I'm saying. That static binding or static polymorphism can be takes place at the time of compile. So object is created at the time of the object is created, checking the whether overwriting takes place or not. Okay. So this can show that. So here you can observe that you can clearly understand parent, child, inheritance, polymorphism, and binding. Everything is observed here. So let us take human. Let us take human. So this is called as a public. Sorry, you don't see that. So this is the void and walk. Walk is a method. So void is a return type. And before that, this is the static. So that means static. Static stands for static binding is takes place. and this is a parent class. Now this is a child class. So boy extends. How to understand the inheritance? So that is the extends. So what is the child class name? Boy. From where? The parent. Parent class is human. So this is called as the class boy extends human. Okay, and you can observe that again the polymorphism can take place. So same method is working here, walk and walk, but this is called as a static. So static. So don't confuse. This is a public. Don't confuse. So before void, before return type, method is there. So what is the function of the method? Modifier, return type, name of the method, and arguments. Okay, and parameters. So that's why this is called a static. So you can consider static. So then system dot print void. So here one is there and second one is there. Now, so please see this. This is a static. Next is, this is the main method. So please see this. This is the upcasting is created. So please give answers properly. This is the upcasting it takes place. Human is a parent. Human is a parent. And object name is the object. Creation in the child. Creation in the child. Very good. Now, an object is created. Let us take two objects is created. So let us take first object is created from upcasting. Second object is created in the normal way. Normal way. So that is the create an object in the parent class. So object.walk and object2.walk. I think according to your previous knowledge, you can understanding that Madhura sir said that. So this is the upcasting is takes place here. So upcasting is takes place here. So that's why a overloading is takes place and it is executed in the child one. And second one, as per norms, it is creating the directly goes to no upcasting. If there is no upcasting, directly goes to the parent, that should be executed. So this is normally student thinking that. But if you are observing that answer, then you will be wonder. Then you will get human walks, human walks. Human walks and human walks. But actually, what you are expecting, boy walks and human walks. This is not possible. Why? No overwriting of the method in the static. That is called as the static polymorphism. No overwriting takes place polymorphism. You should use independent method for each and every type. Each and every type you should create independent. No overwriting in the static polymorphism or static binding. That's why you are getting that. If there is a overwriting, even though typecasting, upcasting is created, but no overwriting takes place, it is directly refers to the parent. That parent is executed and you will get the answer. No overwriting from parent to child. So you are observed clearly. One parent class, one child class, and there is an upcast object is created, and there is a overwriting is takes place, your upcasting is takes place, but no overwriting. That is called as a binding because of static. This is called as a static binding. Static binding cannot overwrite. Simply states static binding cannot overwrite. In the polymorphism also, in the binding also, whatever it may be, in the static, no overwriting takes place. So then you are getting, let's check the dynamic binding. Please see this. Again the same program. Again the same program. Human is a parent. Demo is a child class. And extends. So let us take, this is called as extends. Inheritances takes place. And a polymorphism, that means same work code. So this is a walk and this is called as a walk. Same function in different ways. Next, public method. And next one, an object is created. An object is created. There are two objects. One is a object from human, that is the upcasting. From the upcasting. Second one is the normal. So second one is the normal. Now can please set object.walk, object2.walk. Object is created in upcasting. Object2 is created in normal. You should access the attribute by using normal way. Okay. If you observe the clearly, let us take what is the modifier before the method. This is called as a public. This is called as a public. If you clearly observe that, you can easily understand what is the polymorphism, dynamic or static, you can clearly understand it. So then upcasting takes place. So overriding takes place. If the overriding takes place, object dot walk can create the boy can walks. Object 2 dot walk can create the human can walk. So then the output is boy walks and human walks. Okay, right. So this is called as a static binding versus dynamic binding. I repeatedly explained that static at the time of compiler, dynamic at the time of runtime, first point. Second point, static, no overriding of the method. Then dynamic, overriding of the method takes place. Overriding of the method takes place. Okay, this by this picture, observe the clear one. So binding is also and polymorphism also depends upon the same principle. Okay, right. So this is some idea. So now the time is 11 o'clock. It is the time to leave. Okay, thank you. In the next class, I want to discuss about the generic programming. Okay, generic programming in Java. Okay, thank you. Today's attendance very, very poor. So what happened? I don't think so.